I hold here in my formerly nicotine-stained fingers a copy of Poachers and Pills by J.D. Clapp. This is his latest book. This is a collection of 18 short stories and one novella. The novella in here is called Poachers and Pills. That's where the book gets its title. In here, we got a girl named Gina. This is in the novella. Her sister Emily has recently died of a fentanyl overdose. The story takes place in rural Ohio, Appalachian part of Ohio, the eastern part. DFS is going to be visiting Gina here pretty soon. That's what DFS does, check these rural families that are known to be smoking crack, fentanyl, whatever you have. So Gina wants to make sure the kids look good. Trailer looks good when GHS gets out there. Don't lose the kids. No mention of whether she loves the kids and wants to keep them, or she wants to keep them to keep the benefits coming. So she's making a trip to Walmart. Inside Walmart, Gina made her way to the children's clothes section. She picked out a couple of flannel shirts for Lil Rhett, little boy, and then made her way over to the boots. She picked up a pair of knockoff muck boots in Lil Rhett's size. He'll look just like his grandpap in these, she smiled. She bent down to give the appearance of tying her own boot and slid the shirts into a large pocket she had sewn inside her overcoat last winter. She smiled when she felt a bottle of nail polish in the bottom of the pocket, a leftover from her last shoplifting trip. She put the boots in the opposite inside pocket. She casually walked to the candy aisle, grabbed a couple of Snickers bars, and headed to the self-checkout lane. Gina scanned the candy and paid with her Ohio food card. As she walked to her car, she debated doing another hit before the drive home. Jason ain't gonna float me one or let me blow him to pay for like in the old days. He's paying premium for this shit and he'll want more than head. She'd offer it, but she wasn't sure if he'd fuck her. The one time she floated the idea, he had said, "A BJ don't count as incest," as he pushed her head down. Trading him money for her fixes would be a lot easier than trying to scrounge money each week. I'll wear something sexy next time. That's a family hard down on his luck. Got another story in here about a guy, a fishing guide up in Alaska. And 5 decades ago, he traded his brand new buck knife for a handcrafted knife. He's got it still all these years later. He's used it for everything, hunting, butchering. The edge is so fine he can even fillet fish with it. He's been a fishing guide up in Alaska all these years. His time's coming to an end. And here's what he's thinking about after he's been sitting in a bar all night, drinking whiskey. Looks out after he leaves the bar, sees his own boat over there, the radar on top of the pilot house. He's thinking, a year without treatment, maybe 3 with. No more guiding, no fishing, lots of rest. And the treatment will make you sick before you get well. He's got a story in here called Hunting Bremer's Mesa, private property, and some kid has seen what he thinks might be a state record buck there, and he's in a hardware store on the phone talking to people about this buck that he's seen. Well, a hunting guide is in there too. He overhears the kid talking about this buck. So what's this hunting guide do? He goes and he calls his richest client, says, "I think I might have a state record buck out here. Get your ass out here, bring your checkbook." And he's going to try to undercut this kid. So, and he's also got a story in here about a college kid who's at home, laid up in his bed, and his dad is a rural type guy, not really happy with his son, with his going off to college to be a smarty pants or whatever, and the kid's dog is sick. So what does this country, rural old man come do? He comes into his bedroom, shoves a loaded rifle at him, and says, "Go take care of business." There's a woman in here too hunting out in New Mexico with her bird dogs. She's thinking about her boyfriend back in New York City. Should I move back or not? She's wondering. She's out there setting up her camp, drinking beer. I'm thinking about him. She's had other boyfriends too. It won't be me in New York City, she reasoned, now knowing she would only leave him and come back here if she moved with him. She sighed, wondering, couldn't he stay here for me? But she had seen the gleam in his eye when he talked about life in the city. She thought he probably isn't his true self when he's out here. And when she thought of it in those terms, it seemed as natural to her as the seasons changing. Her sadness began to shift from one born of loss to the type she sometimes felt after harvesting an elk. This is just the nature of the thing, she thought. In the story, The Chosen Ones, he's got a man stuck with his depressed nephew, so he's going to take the nephew out on a hunting trip, get him out of his funk. They got to stop for gas. In a place called Crestone, Ohio. The kid and I started the long drive back to Trinidad. We got gas in Crestone. While I pumped gas, a small group of people wearing purple robes walked up to the end of the parking lot and stopped, watching me vacantly. Man, let's get out of here. Those people freak me out. This place isn't right, the kid said. Relax. What are they going to do? I said, dismissing the kid. I did think it odd, however, worthy of some Blumhouse made-for-cable horror flick. In keeping with his prescient abilities, the kid claims he gets premonitions, has a dream, the dream comes true, has a thought, and then it comes true later, too. The kid thinks he's like, fortune teller or something. No, he's not a fortune teller. Just thinks he can predict the future, has premonitions. In keeping with his prescient abilities, history eventually proved the kid right. Eventually, the cult was suspected of abducting and murdering a local woman. Years after that, members of the same cult were arrested for keeping the mummified corpse of their leader unburied in their compound. And then they go on with the rest of their hunting trip. What J.D. Clapp doesn't mention there, that was a true story. There was a cult in Crestone, Ohio. They were called Love Has Won. Their cult leader was a woman named Amy Carlson. And when they did the autopsy on her after they found her mummified corpse in that compound, she died of cause of death with 3 things: alcoholism, anorexia, and colloidal silver poisoning. Why is she eating colloidal silver? She thought it would cure COVID. This happened during COVID. So not only did they, if you eat colloidal silver, it turns you purple. These people keep thinking it's one of these alternative cures for everything. So people eat it and they turn purple and look like an idiot, and they still have whatever disease they were trying to cure. So reading J.D. Clapp, it's like the first time a person hears ZZ Top. You hear that, and then you find out it's a 3-piece band. You go, God damn, how'd they do all that with 3 pieces? Now, also, just recently, right after I got this Clapp book, this thumped into my inbox. Little tiny chat book. This is Breaking It Down by Rusty Barnes. He's another grit-lit type writer. I have reviewed him before. It came in. I want to talk a couple of things about this. It's kind of a weird little book in that these little grit-lit rural stories, opera keeps coming up. Maybe Rusty Barnes was on an opera kick when he wrote it. This is an old book. This came out back in 2007, almost 20 years ago. This is called Beamer's Opera. Every morning when Beamer milked the cows, he sang from his favorite operas, attaching the nozzles to their bags and patting them each on the flank, bursting into vibrato-laden songs of despair and longing while his hands were occupied with his very necessary tasks. He imagined the cows with their deep brown eyes and kind souls were listening to him as he roared forth regret and lust and love and sorrow in an alien tongue. Beamer named his bulls Stentor and Cadenza and cried when Stentor had to be butchered and realized then that his time on earth grew shorter by the aria. He's got another story here, The Great Responsibility. This has a Kind of a funny, weird little opening. Carlos Bob lives and sleeps in the backmost room of the modular addition of a trailer in the Whispering Pines trailer court. He's a confused boy, not only because of his name, some ethnic mismatch his mama dreamed up with her girls before she fell asleep with a plastic tube around her arm still. He's confused because his little sister is missing since this morning and no one seems to want to find her. Mama's girlfriends left a while ago, smirking among themselves and bumping into each other before peeling out in the dirt drive, and Sissy, the big one, patted him on the head and told him to be a good little boy, good little hero. He said he would, but he doesn't feel much like that right now, more like his belly shaking. Just a short little chapbook. Just want to mention it here while I got it out. Probably read it in one sitting. Okay. Bad whiskey, 10 high, horrible.